Making just an orange is kind of boring, so I'm gonna make an orange alligator. An orange alligator is kind of a mouthful to say, so I'll be calling him Fred for simplicity. Fred gets started off with a small little sphere that it will be his head that I pinch and pull into a semi-alligator shaped head. Next, I'm going to take my shiny ball stylus and I'm going to make a divot in the end of Fred's snout, which will kind of act as a nostril nose area. My knife comes in to poke two small sniffing holes at the end of Fred's snout, which will act as little nostrils. Turns out it didn't actually look that good, and I decided to start over. With a new, fresh sphere, I can then repeat the same process, but better, and making a nicer alligator-shaped, more triangular version this time. Using my largest of the ball styluses, I will go over the top of Fred's head, making kind of a divot down the middle, because I don't know, alligators have that. I'll also haphazardly go over the side to try and smoothen it out and make it a little more triangular, because I figured out that's what they look like. A little more pinching and prodding will make it into a better shape, and then I can run down the middle of his head again, making that divot, and it'll just look better than the first attempt. Sometimes though, the tools just don't cut it, so I have to use my trusty fingers. Back at it again with the large ball stylus, I'll run down the middle, and then take out my knife to make some tiny little breathing holes. Using the smaller end of my large ball stylus, I'll make some divots that'll act as eye sockets. That'll be the places that hold eyes, because that's what eye sockets usually do. Narrowing the size of the ball styluses will allow me to get more precise and smaller carvings that will go deeper into the cranium. Placing Fred's head off to the side, I'll start to make the body out of this big blob of clay with a little bit of magic. Now, taking the smaller of the two pieces, I'll begin to pinch and pull it together to make a kind of log-shaped noodle, which will be flattened out and smushed into a thicker log, which will act as Fred's nice long body. Pressing it down to make it wider made it a little bit too flat for a log shape anyway. And ripping off another piece of clay and slapping it on top should make me be able to bulk it out more and overall just make it thicker. Once again, I'm in need of my trusty fingers to smooth it out rather than some tool before I can push it together again to once again make it thicker. Sometimes though, my hand sausages won't cut it for the type of work that tools do, so I'll take my large ball stylus and run it down Fred's spine like I did for Fred's skull. This will give me a kind of a crevice type thing that I just think looks better. Making his bottom jaw, I'll take a small piece and push it and pull it until I get roughly the same shape as Fred's head, except this time it'll be thinner. Now, after replicating and pancaking Fred's bottom jaw, I can start to add some more of the detail. Now taking my large ball stylus, I'll run down the middle of it, making an imprint again, like I do for everything here, and really define the bottom of the jaw from the gum line. With this beautiful bottom jaw shape, I can set it down and grab my teeny tiny ball stylus. Putting it on here, I realize I forgot to clean it, and so I'll very thoroughly clean it on the table, as well as try to smudge the black clay off of the bottom jaw. Now, taking the ball stylus this time, cleaned, I will rub it along the bottom to try and add some nice gummy texture. After applying that beautiful texture, I'll take my smaller ball stylus and roll it down as I decided it was too shallow and just overall smooth out the texture a little bit. Now I will apply practically the same thing to Fred's top jaw so that I can get an identical look between the two, as the inside of a mouth is typically the same on the top and bottom, disregarding the tongue and tooth shape. Time to put it together and compare the two to see if they're alright. They look fine to me. Taking just the bottom jaw, I'll poke in little divots for the teeth to eventually go in, and I'll just have to do 23 of those in total. That's a lot of teeth divots. Now the reason I can't just poke tiny little holes really quickly all in a row is because that would be way too easy on me, and also it wouldn't look as good and probably not hold the teeth as well. We're halfway there, guys, I promise. It won't be that much longer. Just have to do the chop jaw. By now I learned, oh wait, I can just do really quick things all in a row and they'll be practically the same and just take less time. So that's fun. Anyway, I got them done. Once again, you see me going up and down the back with the large ball stylus, getting smaller in size as I go to get deeper cuts. You're going to see me doing this a lot throughout the video, as when I handle the torso, it gets constantly messed up all the time, and it just takes quite a while and a lot of effort to keep it in shape, so I'm going to be doing this a lot. Using the neck of my smallest ball stylus, I'll poke little ridges into the walls of the spinal valley. This will make kind of segmented parts along the alligator's back, because it looks cool and I'm pretty sure they have those. Using my rubber brush thing, I don't know what it's called, and first aggressively cleaning it. I can then smooth out the edges to make it look less rough and coarse and more like a natural back. When my camera reset up, I can continue doing this undisturbed. I really took my time doing this because I was also trying to just smooth out the thing in general, as it was pretty rough at the moment. With my newly ridged orange lump that resembles that of a chewed carrot, I can start to smooth it out with my fingers to remove some of the bumpy surfaces. Then a little pinching and pulling, as well as bending it a little at the back, will help me segue into the tail at a later time. As you can see, it's still a little bumpy, but that's okay and it's good enough. Taking my large ball stylus, I can then poke a little circular dent in the back. Now it could help me in the future when attaching the tail, and if it doesn't, well, it can't hurt. Putting this off to the side, I'll grab my spare orange clay, which isn't enough, so I'll duplicate it with a little bit of magic, like that. Ripping one of the balls in half, I can then roll it into a large, long, worm-shaped thing, which will be used later, and cut in half. Wow. I'll make 4 of these small little things, and then sweep them off to the side and take one for now. This one will get flattened out at the end, and then cut 3 little fingers out of. Poke around at Fred's new hand, separating the fingers, and then I'll kind of flatten the end out and bend it so that I get a funky looking arm. Positioning it takes a little while, so I'll leave you to it. I'm going to go in here with my small ball stylus and poke little dents into the end of his fingers so that I can get some nice little claw holes like I did for the teeth. These will help me in the future to connect the claws, or at least I think. Putting the arm up against Fred's body will let me see what it might look like before I decide that it doesn't look very good, and I'll try to reshape almost the entire thing, which takes a little bit, but I get there. With my rough shape of the arm done, I'll smooth out the ridges that got messed up from reshaping it, and then I'll stick it on to see if it looks alright. In this case, I think it does, so I'll set it off to the side so I can start making the rest of them. I used the table this time instead of my fingers to cut on. After a lot of time and a little bit of character development, the second arm is done, and quickly after the third, and following that the fourth, making all of our arms done, and then I can start to work on the tail. Similar to the arms, putting the tail next to Fred's body will allow me to get a scale of what's going on, but I'm going to cut down the Cheeto Puff, because I don't need that much clay. A little squashing and stretching will make it kind of a pointed tail that will progressively go down from the end before I cut off a little bit more and continue to pull. Now wielding Frosty's nose, I'll start to bend it into kind of an alligator tail curve before placing it next to Fred to see how it looks. Having decided it looks alright, I'll add the same valley to the back of the tail that I did to the back of the back, which gets followed by a little more curving. Then taking the neck of my small ball stylus, I'll add the same ridges that I did to the back. Using my rubber brush of unknown name, I'll smooth out the ridges to make it a little more natural, just as I did to the back. placing Fred's tail on his back, I can then see how it looks and decide that it looks alright. And with a little bit and tiny little bit of magic, boom, it's connected. Wow, look at that. No, that was all magic, and it took no time whatsoever. There you go. Back to the head. It's looking a little toothless, so I'll fix that. Introducing yellow clay. This is a brand new pack of yellow clay, and as such it looks like a block of cheddar, so without cutting the cheese, I'll rip it apart and then use the smaller end to squish. Little known fact, squishing clay down makes it instantly malleable and doesn't mean you have to warm it up at all. Cutting it with magic will then make a small piece that I can slice apart into small little sections. Taking the smallest of the sections, I can make it into a long little spaghetti noodle. This thin strand of angel hair pasta will be turned into all 23 of the gross looking yellow teeth to fill Fred's gnarly grin. This segment of the magically separated yellow blob, however, will be used for Fred's luscious tongue. This yellow tongue will be rolled down by the small ball stylus to make it split in half essentially, with a valley down the middle, just like almost everything else on Fred currently. The increasing in size will make it a little bit wider, while going a little deeper with the smaller one will allow me to separate it a tiny bit more, and after cleaning my small ball stylus, I can then add a little bit of the same texture I did to the inside of Fred's mouth. At the moment though, his tongue looks fuzzy, which is not typically a good look, so I'll take my larger ball stylus and roll down it to smoothen it out. After I'm done with this, I'll bend it into kind of an aggressive tongue shape. I'll then place it on the blower jaw to see how it looks. I think it looks pretty good. It's time to make Fred's eyes, so I'll crack open my white clay. You might be wondering why I'm smushing it flat. Well, that's because I'm not going for the typical eye shape. I'm going to make his eyes orange flowers. If you're not familiar with what that looks like, it's just a flower with thin petals that looks like that. Bending the petals will make it look a little nicer and a little less static as well. This will give it a little bit of character, and it just looks better overall. Since Fred has two eyes, I went ahead and made a second one off camera. There you go, little guy. It's wire time! I'm going to be using thin strands of wire to help connect the legs to the body. This will just keep it in place better when it's in the oven, and, you know, it'll just help it stick on more. With all four legs secure, I'll put on little noodles around the limbs that kind of resemble floaties in a way. These floaties, of course, are applied to all four appendages and will be smoothened out later. just like that, all 4 little floaties are on his arms and ready to be smoothed out by my unknown named brush. In addition to the nameless brush, my fingers will help smooth out the larger areas, while the rounder end will get into the little crevices that my fingers can't reach. You know, as a pair, the rubber and my fingers work pretty well together to smooth out the whole alligator and just make it look much better. Here I go again with my large ball stylus going down the back, recreating the valley that got destroyed once again. And just as the large ball stylus always recreates the valley, the rubber brush thing must always recreate the little ridges on its own. And just like that, we have the body pretty much done. Smoothing out the top jaw a little bit again and making it a little bit deeper will allow for me to connect the bottom jaw a little easier after I apply all the teeth. My larger ball styluses ruined my beautiful texture, so I'm going to have to re-engrave it with my smallest ball stylus, which doesn't take too much time. With all of my sharp pokey things, flowers, and the slobbery looking tongue all made, I can start to put in all of the teeny tiny teeth. There are a lot of teeth. There are so many teeth. This is gonna take forever. About halfway through I realized that I didn't actually make enough stuff to have enough teeth and talons, so I had to steal 2 from the bottom jaw, which actually ended up helping me put the 2 together a little bit later, which was just a simple process of smoothing the 2 together. Putting in the flower eyes, I noticed, hey, this doesn't actually look too bad, as I had never actually tested it before I did it, which is something that you should probably always do. Putting the talons onto the fingers, I realized they are way too big, and I cut them all down. They fit much better cut down, and with all of them applied, I can go over the entire back again with the large ball stylus and the small rubber brush. Then, jamming a wire through the head, I can attach it to the body, and that's a lot of stuff done. With a wormy dealy that goes wrapped around as the neck, I can do essentially the same process that I did for the arms, but just to the head this time. As you may have noticed, I took the eyes off because they would just get in the way a little too much, and they were kind of annoying to work around, so I figured I could just take them off. They weren't too securely applied. I just kind of stuck them on. Then, with my rubber things, I can push it all together, as well as my fingers, to smooth it out and do what I did for the arms, just to the neck, and it looked pretty good. The bottom side needed a little bit more fattening out because it was just too thin, so with my large ball stylus I'll go over it to kind of flatten it a tiny bit, and then blend it all in with the large rubber brush end. With the new neck in place, I can put in some new ridges as well, which will just continue from the back up to the head, and they look pretty nice. Then, with a flat worm of yellow, I can try to make a stomach. The sheet gets laid on top, and then cut down, and then put back on top, and then cut down again, and rinse and repeat until I get a nice looking shape. It was a little too short, so a bit of pulling it together can make it a little bit longer before I roll it out with my large ball stylus and haphazardly connect it to the body. With my smallest ball stylus, I'll make some segments in the stomach so that it looks kind of more like the underside of an alligator, and then I'll take a look at it. It looks pretty good, and it's, good enough. In my book, good enough is perfect, so I'll reattach the eyes. And then, it's off to the bake. Thanks so much for the suggestion, Orange. I loved it. Let me know what I should make next time. See ya.